What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy, Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. I don't know what the Dolphins are doing right now in terms of content and, trying to serve the people, but thank you. We appreciate it. We had a bunch of weeks of what could happen, what could not happen. Literally just yesterday, I said, hey, we lost John Smith, not happy about it. Now the Dolphins have a big void at tight end. What are they going to do? And I had all these plans today to lay out all these tight ends that we could possibly pick up or disgruntled people. And out of nowhere, out of the blue, the Dolphins went and made a move that literally was never my bingo card. I didn't even consider this move. The Dolphins went out and got Darren Waller from retirement to join the team. Now, some of you may be like, this is such a random move. Why would you do that? I think the biggest reason was because our current offensive coordinator, Frank Smith, was the tight ends coach for the Raiders from 2018 to 2020 when Darren Waller was at his best. So he knows the system, he knows the coach, and it's familiar to him. So why not come to Miami? Also, it's Miami. We get that. But the last time I saw Darren Waller, he was fumbling Kelsey Plum and making music that wasn't for me. That's the last time I've seen him. I know he's done a couple podcasts. He's talked about it since then. I think he talked to Pat McAfee about it. But this was not on my bingo card. I had 9 other tight ends before I would have even considered Darren Waller coming here. Now, let's put this in perspective. Darren Waller the last 3 years has been very injury prone. He missed 5 games, then 9 games, then 5 games with injury. As a Dolphins fans, we know injuries kind of a thing. So I'm a little concerned that the injury history is not great. And he's 3 years of playing, 5 years total removed from his last season of being really, really good. He's also 32. So he hasn't been in football in a year and a half. And he's 32 and he's been injured. A lot of things stacking that may not be great. Here's what he is. Last time he played, still freak athlete. He still had twitch to his game. He wasn't producing at the level he could have, but you can see all the tools there. What I'm hoping is that he really takes the opportunity to be on the team and really maximizes what he wants to do. If Frank can really tap into what he had in 2020, then the Dolphins got a tremendous steal. The contract's only 1 year up to $5 million, so the numbers match up. Honestly, he basically got a Jonnu Smith contract, which I think we may have paid a little bit more than I would like. It's not fully guaranteed, but still, I think that's actually a lot. That's a lot given that he hasn't been playing. But we all have that feeling of if we get a glimpse of that guy that he was with the Raiders, whoa. Like, you talking about stretching the field, you talking about catch radius, you talking about all the things that can make the team really go. And also, sometimes when you leave something and you come back to it, their appreciation goes up. Darren Waller talked about, he didn't love the game at a certain point. He was out there, he got the money, he was kind of living a celebrity life a little bit. He wasn't like football is life. And then once he let it go, he realized he missed it. And now he's coming back to it. So when you come back, I'm hoping the dedication, the work ethic, all that is ramped up. I don't know what kind of shape he's currently in, right? I mean, I assume we worked him out before all this went down and that we did levels of physical to make sure that he was good to go. So he might be in physical shape in the sense that his weight and height were in a good place. Football shape is football shape, just like basketball shape is basketball shape. You don't get in football shape by just lifting weights. You get in football shape by playing football. So I'm hoping that over the rest of the summer, into the season, he gets into more football shape. I imagine early on he may even be on some version of a pitch clock until week 5, 6, whatever, in the season where we can really let him go. But I think this is what a move. Chris Greer, hey, they try to bury you in your name. They said you weren't doing nothing. Chris Greer sitting on his hands, just collecting checks. And meanwhile, he had 2 in the tuck, and there might be a third coming. I don't know what's going on here. This literally was the only thing that would have been more outrageous would be if Rob Gronkowski joined the team. It's out of retirement, 4-time champ, possible greatest tight end ever. Rob Gronkowski joins the Dolphins. I would have been all right, Chris Greer. Hey, dog, you got it. If you making moves like that, then my bad for ever doubting your name. But we will find out during this year if he pans out. Again, he's 32. So even if this year goes really well, I don't know what level of extension you're going to give a 32-year-old tight end. Maybe another couple year extension. That's fine. I think my best option before this trade was going to be do the Kyle Pitts thing. Now Kyle's younger, but physically they to me are actually similar. Darren Waller's ceiling is probably near Kyle Pitts' ceiling. I would say, but Kyle's just younger. And Kyle is not really injury prone. He just doesn't perform well. Darren Waller's had a lot of hamstring injuries, IT band issues, a lot of lower body stuff, which I don't love as you get older because those typically don't get better faster. But if we can just harness the good in him and this offense for 1 year and then maybe extend it for a couple more if he balls out. Jonnu only had 800 yards receiving last year. I'm saying only. Jonnu was great last year. But it's not like we're not trying to replace Travis Kelce 5 years ago. We're trying to replace the option of having an athletic tight end that if you get him the ball in space, he can make moves. He can catch the ball in traffic. That's what we're trying to replace. We're not trying to replace like an all-time great at tight end. I think he's certainly, ceiling-wise, the best option we have. No question about it. I mean, what are we talking about? I'm curious what we're going to have from him. So when you miss 19 games in a 3-year run based on injury, and then you don't play football for a year and a half, I'm curious what that looks like on the field, but I am optimistic. I think this is a kind of move like, what was that? So we're looking forward to it. Shout out to Chris Greer, man. Let's see what we got. After this trade, people are asking and speculating there's more moves to be made. That Greer's just been sitting around kind of waiting to kind of unlock some of these moves, right? And that's a good question as to what the team is going to do. Sorry, something in my eye. I, maybe a week or so ago, said I think we're kind of sitting down, waiting to the trade deadline. I already said I was wrong yesterday. I already said it, okay? Don't come at me twice. I said I was wrong, and then Chris Greer said, huh, and then hit me with a two-piece. All right, you got me. Now I'm wondering what else is out there. The most obvious trade speculation is that at some point Tyreek could be moved because Tyreek has a year left on his deal. Like, we don't owe him any money after this season. Tyreek still has some trade value. Probably not as much as he'll have during the season if somebody gets hurt. But because he's making moves that were not on anybody's bingo card, nobody was speculating about any of this stuff, that may mean that there are some trades that we didn't foresee as being a thing, And the trade that is kind of looming the most possible is if, like, Jalen Waddle gets traded. That, to me, is the scenario that I most do not want. You guys know I'm a big Waddle fan ever since Alabama till now. He was my favorite receiver in the draft. I was elated when the Dolphins got him. I will be disappointed if Waddle gets traded because I still feel like we haven't gotten the best version of him. I know he was really good as a rookie. I still feel like Waddle has, wide receiver, low-end one potential. I think he has that kind of ceiling. And because he's been nicked up, but he hasn't had those season-ending ACL, Achilles. He hasn't had those injuries. He's had, oh, man, my hamstring's a little tweaked. I'll roll my ankle. So he's been nicked a lot. So injured, yes, but not, oh, man, that guy's like an injury risk. You know what I'm saying? Like there's everyone in football is playing hurt. There's some guys who get knocked out, i.e. our outside linebacker, defensive ends, right? When they're out for the year. That's not Waddle. He'll miss a game or two, and then he'll just play again, even if he's a little bit banged up. I think Waddle still has a ton of left in the tank, ton of potential. I expect him to be faster and stronger this upcoming year. But I do think currently Waddle has more trade value than Tyreek, which is why I'm nervous that if we are going to make any more like splashy moves, that could be on the horizon. I'm a little bit nervous about that. I don't think we have any offensive line moves on the horizon because there aren't good offensive linemen like available. And typically teams lock those people down because you have to protect the quarterback. So you can't be like, Dolphins acquire Trent Williams. That would be crazy. Because Trent's a little disgruntled right now in San Fran. So things like that, listen, you heard it here kind of first. Trent's not the happiest in San Francisco. We know Mike McDaniel's coached with him before. We know he knows the scheme. Miami is Miami. San Fran is San Fran, but Miami is Miami. And if Trent's like, I don't think San Fran's going anywhere. We just signed Purdy, and we lost Debo, lost some guys on defense. Maybe I take my talents down to Miami. That's my out of the blue possible move that the Dolphins are going to make. I was going to say that for later in the show, but you know what? I'll burn it right here. I don't care. That's the move that no one's talking about that could possibly happen that makes sense in a lot of ways, right? Dolphins believe in Patrick Paul to some degree, I believe. But do you believe in Patrick Paul more than Trent Williams? Like, what are we talking about? Trent Williams is future Hall of Famer. And if he has a 1 to 2 year run in the system, then why not come to an offense you kind of already know? Why not come to a great city? The Dolphins will find the money because I assume we will have to trade pieces to get him back. But that's my unsubstantiated, unresearched, just keep your eyes open trade that could be still out there. Because if Chris Greer is doing what he's doing right now, I'm not putting anything past him. I don't think there's any other offensive linemen that are game movers that are available. And I don't even think Trent's really available. I think he would just say, I'm going to hold out or trade me. So he would just kind of force his way out. And San Fran, to me, is kind of in a soft rebuild right now. So it will make sense if we gave up a player and like a pick or something like that. But I don't know. I do think there's something else coming because now anything's possible. Like, who knows? Like, Dolphins acquire all world. We'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Dolphins are going to do going forward. We're back to talking about Tyreek, but this is good Tyreek. And this is like a good Tyreek, bad Ty. Like, I might do a segment called Good Ty, Bad Ty at some point. Tyreek was on the Johnny Manziel podcast, Glory Days, and he was talking about the narratives around the team and kind of how we need to start shifting it internally before it goes external. I think, to be fair, as a Dolphin fans, the narratives have been true and have been not unfair. They've been substantiated over a number of years. When people say, oh, the Dolphins play well early in the year and not well late in the year, you look at the records, they bear it out. Now, sometimes Tua's not playing late in those games, and so the record would, of course, go down. You lost your quarterback. When you see the cold weather stats, they're not good. We typically also pay good teams in the cold weather. So there is nuance to all these things. I don't think the team at week 13 forgets how to play football. I do think we're a little bit more banged up. We haven't had the best depth in the world. So when guys get hurt and now you're on your second, maybe third string player late in the year, you're not going to be as good. If your quarterback's not playing, for sure you're not going to be as good. That's just football. And then when you're playing a division rival like Buffalo in Buffalo late in the year, or a team like Cincinnati in Cincinnati, or Baltimore in Baltimore late in the year, those teams are trying to win their divisions and get into the playoffs too. So yes, the stakes go up and now you're not playing as well. There's some narrative around there, right? But some of it also is you can shift the narrative like that. One playoff run, like Matt Stafford spent his whole career in Detroit literally not winning playoff games. 0 playoff wins, even with Megatron, who's in the Hall of Fame, one of the best 10 receivers of all time, never won. All everyone said was, yo, Stafford, giant arm, number 1 pick out of high school, number 1 pick in the pros. You know, can throw the ball 80 yards, he's all that. Can't win the playoffs. Goes to the Rams, Super Bowl run. Now people are like, yo, man, Stafford Hall of Famer? I know, pretty good in the playoffs. It takes one run. That's it. It just takes one. And so you can change your fortunes in one season. There'll be still doubts. Like, there should be doubt going into this year for anyone who's not a Dolphin fan, even some Dolphin fans. But the idea that you can just change your fortune in 1 year, I fully endorse that. This is what he actually said word for word. He said, this year, as one of the leaders, I told the guys it's time to change who we are as a team. It's time to change the narrative about who we are not able to play in cold weather. We're not a physical team. So I'm tired of that narrative. I'm tired of living behind not being able to get to the playoffs and win in Miami because we got a damn good team. Yeah, I think Tyreek's right. And I know y'all think I hate on Tyreek. I just try to keep Tyreek somewhat accountable to what he does and says. I very much believe some of this has been overblown. Like when people said, oh, the defense didn't work under Vic Fangio. It's like, well, he has 6 starters get injured. So does that mean that, oh, they can't handle Vic's tough coaching? Maybe not the second and third string guys. Maybe not. Because why would I, as a third stringer, be good at getting coached tough? Like I'm basically a special teamer who's hoping to get on the field every now and again. And now I'm like, I got to play every play. That's not – I may not be built for that. Now, if you told me Bradley Chubb and Vic Fangio were fighting and he played there all year, that would be a different thing, but that's not kind of what happened. I've watched some of these cold weather games, and it's not even the temperature. Sometimes the team just doesn't execute well. I'm looking forward to them changing the narrative this year. I think, again, the Dolphins could be as good as they want to be. I know there are teams that maybe have more talent, that may be more established, that maybe have teams that are constructed to travel better. But I think we have the personnel, and more importantly, we have the coach who I think is smart enough to adjust. I think part of the team, McDaniel, has been arrogant, is probably the closest word I can find. I don't want to be like disparaging a coach, but when you're the offensive genius guy, and it's like 10 of them in the league now, where people are like, oh man, that guy's a genius. Like we from, you know, Andy Reid on down, where your offense is your offense, and you're like this fun that you just have all these different wrinkles and you do all this stuff. Sometimes you get in love with your own supply. You do. Like we've seen the Chiefs do a ring around a rosy before running plays, and that's all cute until your offensive line gets blown up. We've seen Sean Payton have like a play chart that's 75 plays long and then miss the playoffs 3 years in a row, right? We've seen Sean McVay mostly been successful. Honestly, he's only not good when Stafford is hurt, but we saw him get completely out coached in the Super Bowl and just be like, "Hey, I don't know what Belichick was doing, bro. I didn't know what was happening on the field." Like we can go down the list, like Shanahan, we've seen it, and I think Coach McDaniel was in the same category where he's so known for his offense and he's such a smart guy in that respect that sometimes it's like I can outsmart the basic fundamentals of football, which is just basic execution. I know they said it's too cold to do a double reverse, but it can work. And it's like, yeah, but the ball is mad cold and it feels cold, and people don't get to those spots as quickly as they can because the field isn't made for that. So yes, maybe you could run that play possibly, and if you could maybe possibly run it, it would work. But it's also much more likely that if three people touch the ball on one play, that something could go wrong. That one guy could be a step off and fumble the ball, or the execution doesn't work as well. Maybe it's better to just add a second tight end and just run for 3 yards. Those are the little tweaks I think we can make. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do because I think everybody's feet are to the fire this year. Let's see what happens. And finally, we get to the comment section. Now, one of the comments was about who do you think the Dolphins are going to trade for, but also who do you think they're going to trade to give up. And I mentioned the Jalen Waddle thing earlier. So I kind of burned the question. So I'll flip the question a little bit and say, who do you think the Dolphins might actually acquire? I mentioned this a few episodes back, kind of in passing, but we still need a number one cornerback. And I think the way that's going to happen is there'll be a corner that's near the end of his contract that gets a little disgruntled and the Dolphins kind of swoop in. That's what I said. If a team like Cleveland is a bad team this year, which by all accounts they shouldn't be a good team. I don't see any reason why I would think Cleveland's going to be a good team. A guy like Denzel Ward to me makes a lot of sense. Denzel Ward has been great his whole career. He has somehow been underratedly great. Like even last year, he had the most pass breakups as a cornerback, and we were like, "Oh yeah, Denzel was okay last year. Denzel was awesome, as he always is." But he's 7 years into the league, always good, great in coverage, good in run stopping, and he's been low key, which is it's rare to be that good and still kind of chill. He's gotten paid, which I think helps the low keyness of it. But at a certain point, when Myles Garrett was like, "Yo, get me off the team," I don't think a lot of people were like, "Oh, Myles is wrong for wanting to leave." I think they were like, "Yeah, I get it. Like you're great. Your team's not gonna win. Get me to a better situation." Totally makes sense to me. Cleveland's got a bunch of picks for next year, including 2 first rounders. So there may be a thing where the front office is like, "Yo, we're not good this year. We're gonna package those picks and go get, Cade Klubnik, and we're gonna win, and maybe you can convince him to stay." But Denzel knows no matter where he goes, he's getting paid. He's not one of those guys that's I'm only getting paid in Cleveland because they drafted me. I am an actual asset out here in these streets. So a guy like that who has a little bit of time left on his contract but may just want to win is like, hey, get me off of this team. Get me somewhere where I can play, where I can be the star, where I can go into a good scheme and have a chance to win. That's the kind of place that if Cleveland goes into a total rebuild, which is very much on the board with 2 first round picks and we don't know what's happening at quarterback, if the Dolphins like, hey, we will give you one of our top 2 picks next year, it might be a first rounder, could be a second rounder, and a little bit of money, and we could bring in Denzel, I think that is possible. Denzel is just the top name. There are probably other names on this board that can work out, but I know the other top 3 corners have all signed extensions. So I don't think Stingley or Pastor Tan or J.C. Horn or even Sauce are coming his way, right? So let's get those out of here. But I do think someone like Denzel Ward, who I think is very much in that category, I think he's better than at least one, if not two of those guys, is a possibility because his team's not going to be good. Houston's going to be good next year, right? Denver should be in the playoffs this year. Jets, who knows? It's the Jets. Who knows? It's the Jets. Nobody cares about the Jets. But if Sauce is like, hey, man, I could be a star anywhere I go, which I think is accurate. Sauce seems to be like team proof. If he's like, hey, I want to break the market at corner and y'all are nickel and diming me, Brees Hall wants a contract too, and he kind of works his way out of there. I don't see the Jets trading with the Dolphins because we're obviously in division, but a player like that I think is a possibility. So if there's a giant move out there to land a big fish to fix the team, Denzel Ward to me is like, that's the line. Anything else on defense? I don't think there's any safeties that I don't think there's that many game breaking safeties. We just got one, and I don't think there's that many other corners that are at that tier that you're like, oh snap, they wouldn't have got so and so, and now the team is a lot better. Denzel's the guy for me. Anything else would be shocking. I mentioned the Trip Williams thing earlier, so I gave you a double dip on this answer, maybe a triple dip. I gave you who we would trade away and two people we were bringing back. So I think that counts as like three different questions being asked. Whatever. I'm counting that math. That works for me. But guys, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and subscribes. We appreciate the love and support. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily.